Welcome to the Money Savvy Parents Podcast, the podcast for parents to gain financial education to then pass on through the generations. I am your host, Laura, mother to 3 beautiful children and founder of a financial coaching business, Savvy Peacocks. Let's remove the taboo from money together. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my podcast. Great to have you with me. Today is a bonus episode where we are really lucky to be joined by the beautiful Patricia Lohan, who is a Feng Shui expert. And I came across Patricia probably about 6 months ago, actually, through Clubhouse.
Yeah, Clubhouse, that's right.
Yeah, and I've been in her world and watching what's going on in the Facebook groups, did her challenge, and I'm really excited to be able to share the power of Feng Shui with you all. So, hi, Patricia. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here with you today.
And I know you're all over the world at different points in time. So where are you today?
I'm currently sitting in Kefalonia in Greece.
Very nice.
We split our time between Bali, Greece, and soon Italy and Mexico. So
very nice.
But
very nice.
we've been in Greece for a couple of months now.
And you haven't been affected by the fires and things? I've heard different things about going on in Greece.
We've been really fortunate. This island did have some fires a couple of weeks ago, but they were able to contain them. And we're all good here yet, but it's been a bit crazy.
Great. Oh, well, at least you're safe and everything's okay at your end. What a great lifestyle. I mean, first off, how do you orchestrate that? Because that sounds like idyllic. That's my goal, to be able to be between 4 or 5 different countries. That sounds awesome.
I think it's really about like setting the intention to do it. You know, we were very clear on not wanting to live full time in Ireland, and we wanted to live in different countries. And to be honest, it happened because we were really in search of like a new place to live forever place, and we just couldn't find one place that fed us fed our souls in the way that we wanted forever in different ways. So it ended up being like, well, let's just go to a few different places and have that every year. So like currently, like our kind of summertime is spent here in Greece by the sea, which is just so spectacular. And then we follow the sun, essentially. We love the sun and we end up following the sun. So that was in Bali we were in India and we were in Bali for a long time, actually. And when I set up and started doing Feng Shui virtually, it was really just that power of like wanting to set up a business that I could travel with. That's like freedom and travel are my 2 number 1, values. And, it's about embodying that. So, for me, Feng Shui has actually allowed us to do that. So, yeah. It was like a big intention.
I've got to say, it makes me regret having children because it sounds idyllic, but I just know that it would be so difficult to do with children. First of all, I'd probably have to homeschool them, wouldn't I?
No. And actually, the thing is, I think one of the things is like when people say to me, oh, like you live an amazing life and I'd love to be able to do it, but I can't. And I'm just like, you can. We have met people from every walk of life, from every age, every number of children you could possibly imagine doing exactly what we're doing, whether they've moved to Bali for 6 months or they're like, there's a couple that we're just friends with now who have done 3 months in Texas. They're doing 3 months in the UK. They're doing 3 months in Hawaii. And they're going to the UK to give birth to their first child. And they're like, yeah, and then we're going to move to here. And then we've met so many couples with families who live around the world. And there's incredible education in schools and opportunities. Like, I think it's just like and this is part, I have a podcast called Live Your Dreams Awake. And I'm about like really empowering people to step into what their dreams are and be the powerhouse and the visions that they want to call in. And we can just limit ourselves by being in our kind of like, oh, like this is the only path. And it's like, actually, we just kind of like break through and be like, oh, there's so many other options.
You're so right. You shouldn't give me ideas like this, though, Patricia, because for anyone that knows me, if you give me a little idea, just give me a little taster of something that I quite fancy, then I'm a bit of a doer. So
and I want to be meeting you here. And the thing is, like, some people are like, they're like, oh, you live my dream traveling. And I'm like, I'm like, you can live your dreams any way that you want. Like and if you're happy doing the way that you want, amazing. Or, you know, if it's like going to one place for a month or taking 6 months off, or, you know, whatever it is, it's like we can just make up our own versions. And I think that part of the journey is like breaking free of the shackles of like what we think we're meant to do, and actually doing what we want. And that's really tapping into something that's like kind of, I don't know, more powerful than us.
Right. I love it. I mean, I just absolutely love it. It's so empowering. I really love the way you talk about you. I think this is what's different about you, is that you use Feng Shui in a way that I've never seen before. Because, I mean, tell us in your words what you think Feng Shui is, because I know most people think it's about interior design and moving things around their house. And you've already orchestrated that it's something so much more than that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you know, Feng Shui starts for your home. And I think for me, it starts at home. And that's how we got into Feng Shui, by Feng Shuiing our house. And that actually kind of activated in us, like all bigger visions and bigger dreams. And not only did it do that, it actually allowed our home and allowed us to call in so much more money and abundance to give us the freedom to do the things that we wanted to do. So one of the things that is possibly the most overlooked things about Feng Shui is that it is, as I would like to describe it, acupuncture for your home. And we are the result of the environment that we are in. We're the result of the people that we are around, and we're the result of the thoughts that we think, and our, you know, all of the things that have been part of our lives growing up. And our physical environment is one of the things that is completely overlooked. Our house has its own energy. It has its own personality. And we can be doing all of the internal work, you know, clearing money blocks, doing mindset things like, you know, trying to think, oh, I'd love make a vision board. I'd love to go here. And I'm a huge fan of vision boards. My vision boards are always coming true all the time. But because my environment is supporting me 100%, and it's my physical environment. You know, basically, when you're in a house that the energy isn't supportive of you, you will know. Your bank account will tell you. Your relationships will show you. The things that are not happening or not flowing for you. So if your children are arguing all the time, if you're not getting the traction you want in your business, you're not seeing your finances or your savings grow, there's something off, okay? And oftentimes we believe, and this is what we've been trained to believe, is that it's because we have to work harder. We're doing it wrong. But actually, when I moved into this world, I had already been doing lots of mindset work. I've been doing a lot of healing work. I'd done a lot of inner work. And my business was doing okay, but it wasn't kind of really getting the traction or the income that I knew was possible. And I'd kind of like, it was like some kind of like a glass ceiling. It was like an invisible glass ceiling that we think we have to try and bash through. But for me, when I moved into this journey of like actually accessing the energy of our homes, that then turned on and really supported us. Like, so it's like that acupuncture for your home. Essentially, it's bespoke. It's very specific. Every house is very unique and has its own personality type. But when you start to turn that on and actually make your house support you, you start to see things start to go into flow. And that's what Feng Shui is all about. It's about getting your home into flow. Because if the environment, which is very dense, is in supportive energy, if it's like in flow, you become into flow. And then all of the resistance and all of the things that were going wrong or seem to happen seem to just melt away. Kids start to get on better. They start to win awards. I just seen one of the in our Powerhouse members group. I had a client the other day, a few months ago, she asked me on a call, how can I get my son, he wants to be a professional footballer, how can I get him, like, amplify and help him with this? Like, so it's not just like, I'm going to move the furniture, I'm going to paint the walls and change things. Like, to be honest, that stuff doesn't really matter. It's more about the energy and the intention and really getting clear on what it is that you want, but then making sure that your house is supporting you. Yesterday, she posted in the Facebook group a picture of her son. He's won this incredible scholarship, like a national scholarship in Sweden, and like for soccer, because we worked on his bedroom, fame and reputation area, all the different things. And she's just like, this is huge.
Wow.
And like, she'd asked me about like this, and we've seen it for parents who have students and who want to get like the right universities, like, and get into the right schools or get proper support. Like, it's this ripple effect that when our house is supporting us and then we get clear and everyone knows they want, then we can start to really turn on and amplify that. So, and there's no external blocks to it. It's actually then that's when the inner work really matters.
So can you pretty much do what you want for your intentions within any house? Or are there certain things to look out for? Because, you know, you're moving house all the time. Are you sort of quite particular about what house you're living in and certain things you're looking out for?
And actually, this is a great question, because most people you may have heard like, oh, having your front door beside with this, I don't know, the mirror with the stairs in front of it, that's bad feng shui. Yeah. And then it automatically then my house is bad feng shui because the stairs is like that. And I'm like, no, there's like 500,000 other things that we can look at to make it, other things that we can do to improve the home.
So you can like balance it out almost.
This is basically what it's all about. You just balance out the pros with the cons. So for example, we move regularly, but I feng shui every place that I'm in. Like, so I get here, I will run the numbers, I'll do the analysis just like I would do for my clients. And then I will get the elements, working with the 5 elements, and I'll put them in place. And obviously every single house has its own flavor, so it can take a little like readjusting, and that's fine. That's just normal. It's just like when you got to decide to do like go get a facial, and then all your spots, get a few spots. What did I get that facial for? Anyways, it was very relaxing. So there's a little bit of a balancing, but once that comes into thing, then you get into flow. So we do every house that we live in, and it's usually takes me about a day or two to actually implement it. And I think that's one of the things where a lot of people think like feng shui is hard. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to cost a lot of money, and that's not the case at all. What we're doing is we're actually balancing the energy of the home so that it supports you with everything that you want. And it can be easy, and we do it everywhere we move to.
So people choose what their priorities are, and there's is there 8 different sections? Have I remembered that right?
There's nine areas.
9. Yeah. I knew it was 8 or 9. So they choose and then they work on that area. But when I worked with you in your challenge, we were looking very much about how to draw wealth in, which is what you started with, around how you've been able to enable your dreams. So when we're talking about drawing in wealth, explain to us how that works. What's the best place to start if you want to really focus on drawing in some wealth?
So the first thing that I would say to people is that like also there's different schools of feng shui. So there's a school of feng shui which is like very much like, oh, stand at the front door and over in the right hand corner and put this random thing here. That's not what it's about. It would be like me going to if the both of us, myself and Laura, went to the same acupuncturist and we said to her the exact same things, she would still look at us and say, and maybe treat us totally differently. Yes. And that's exactly what feng shui is like, and what the school of feng shui I practice is that every house is totally unique. So it's like a big iceberg essentially. And there's like the tip of the iceberg is what I'll be able to, share with everyone here today, some things that they can do. But beneath that is really when we do the deeper analysis and activate all the areas with specific cures that will balance the space. So when it comes to feng shui, what we want to look at is, first of all, just a few things in terms of like the flow of energy. So feng shui is about getting things moving and flow. So getting in to your house is very important. Like how you get in. Is the door easy to open? Is it nice and welcoming? Like, does it feel, really beautiful? Like not even beautiful, because then people go off on a tangent of like, I have to paint my front door and I have to change this. And I'm like, no, you just want to make sure that it's welcoming, that it like feels
clean good. And organized.
Yeah, clean and organized and welcoming. Like the thing is, everything around our house is impacting our energy. Like this is on just a surface level. Every single thing has an energy, has a vibration, and it's either helping us or hurting us. It's either helping us raise our energy and make us feel better, or it's depleting our energy, or it's just neutral. So what you want to do is, first of all, move around your house with this tool that I absolutely love, your eyes. And I call this fresh eyes. I call this technique fresh eyes. Okay. And fresh eyes means that when you start at go out to the edge of your driveway or wherever you live and start to just walk in and pretend you're a new person, like you've never ever been here before, and just look around. Like, is there weeds growing up through the pavement? Are there cracks? Is there something broken? Are the plants dying? Like anything that's like not vibrant, alive, working order is going to be depleting your energy, and it's going to be affecting you subconsciously. But the same goes for any energy that comes into your house. So you want to make sure that when you start at that front entrance, that you start to look and be more conscious and aware of your environment. We spend so much time in our houses, especially when we work from home, like we're in it all the time, and it's either supporting us or not. And it's like making sure that all the things that are in it are, and then you're like, oh my God, I have to throw out everything out of my house. It's not like that. What I would say to you is like, come in and go, is it easy to get in? Walk around your house, look at the artwork, like, oh, and look at the artwork. Does this painting remind me of a happy time or a sad time? Or why do I have this? Do I even like this? You know, I prefer to have less in a house than have stuff that we don't have any, that it's just doing nothing for us. It's just sitting there gathering dust. Like, you know, people often, you know, like love like, oh, I bought artificial plants. And I'm not a big fan of artificial plants because they actually gather dust and they just become dust collectors, which then gathers chi and makes stagnant energy. Do you want to move?
It's interesting you should say that, actually, because I've been looking for some upward growing bamboo since I did your challenge, just like a little one with a few stalks. And the only ones I can find are artificial ones. And I don't want artificial ones in my house. I'm really struggling to find a real one. But I've definitely bought more plants into my house since meeting you, which is, you know, it's another thing to look after. But it's great if it's in the right position and it's working. It feels so much nicer. It's lovely.
Yeah. And when we work with, when we're working with Feng Shui, we're working with the 5 elements. So you're looking and making sure that you don't have excess of certain things, like loads and loads of red in your house could really ripple back into like loads of arguments, loads of aggression, loads of burnout, you know. So you want to, or lots of water in a house. Like I worked with a client who had her whole house decorated with like water elements, sea theme, water everywhere. And the day that they moved in, like literally within a few days of moving in, they lost the contract for basically their 7-figure business. The supplier of their product stopped supplying it. They're like, no, we don't do it anymore. And they basically lost their business. And she came to me going like, oh my God, Patricia, since we've moved in here, everything's gone crazy. Like just this lot, and it was nuts. And when we started doing it, I was just like, oh my God, like literally there's just too much of one element and not enough of the others. There's no balance and harmony. And once we balanced it specifically, she messaged only a few weeks ago and had a $400,000 month.
Wow.
Like, woo! And this is being like constantly building. It's turned completely around from like, we've just lost our mainstream of income to now like completely creating something new and moving into a sense of flow and doing what she loves, because that other business, she actually didn't really like it.
Amazing. So if people want to start drawing in wealth and create a wealth corner, what's the best place to start? Because I can tell you what I did after doing your challenge is I went round, I looked at you need to tell me the corner. Southeast?
So southeast area.
Southeast area. So I did that for the house, but then I did that for different, because I'm on 3 levels. So I did that for all 3 levels, and then particular rooms, because I found some rooms, that area was cluttered. So there was like a cupboard that was like an eaves cupboard. Obviously it's storage, but it just wasn't very well organized. And there was a corner of the dressing room was the southeast, and it was just dumping ground. Same in the bedroom. So I cleared all of that out. So what else can people do if they're specifically looking at that southeast corner to draw some wealth in? What kind of things that should they start looking out for? That's what I did. But what else could they do?
So essentially the house has 9 areas, and the one area is the prosperity area, is the southeast area. Yeah. The southeast area is related to the wealth area. And what you really want to do is, and mostly it's not about what you add, it's actually what you take away. Yes. It's actually about like less is more. Like a lot of people, I encourage people to create an area that becomes like a prosperity area, like little altar. But that could be anywhere in your house. It doesn't necessarily need to be your southeast area. It's just a recognition that there is a part of your home that is mirroring back into your finances. And if it is full, if it is a dumping ground, if it has loads of clutter, if it's stagnant energy, or loads of like artificial plants, or things that are broken or not working, it's going to be impacting and depleting the area, the energy. So just by looking, and it's an awareness technique, number one, of realizing that there's a part of your home that's impacting your finances, and then just clearing it out. And you can bring things in that make you feel more abundant. You can do that for sure. Everyone's perception of what abundance is different to everybody. So I like to say to people, like, find some artwork that feels really abundant. So actually just today, I've got this amazing artist. I've commissioned her to paint a painting for my prosperity area, because when you walk in my front door, that's where our prosperity area is in our home in Ireland. And I've always just wanted this piece of art that would feel really abundant. And I wasn't really sure. And we just were like coming and going. I had like, I don't know what I'm going to put there. And I saw this woman's art one day, and I was just like, oh my God, that's what I want. And it's this beautiful painting of like cherry blossoms. And for me, like, nature is the biggest teacher and the biggest provider of abundance. You know, we think that money is actually the abundance. Abundance is the fresh air, it is the trees, it is nature, it is water, it is the rivers, it is Mother Earth that feeds us, that brings us the abundance. And when we tap into that energy, when we tap into that infinite energy of abundance, then we see more abundance in our bank accounts. Like, it is connected. Like, there's a real synergy with that. And really, when we tap in and turn our houses into this space of like flow and balance, and bring things in that represent that type of abundance, it changes things. And you know, we've really set a real powerful intention around this piece of art. I know when I come in, I'm going to see it and be like, oh my God, it's going to remind me of my time in Japan. It's going to remind me of like the abundance of cherry blossoms. When you see cherry blossoms in bloom, they're like full. So it's like, what is going to represent it for you? Because our homes, and for me, when it comes to Feng Shui, your house shouldn't look any different. It should feel different. Your bank account should be better. You should be all much happier and in flow, and communication better, and everyone getting on well, and more just more joy and ease. That's what life with the Feng Shui house is about. It's not about it aesthetically looking different if you love your house. Now, saying that, there's like tons of interior designed houses that I've worked on that there've been terrible Feng Shui, and the family are fighting all the time, and they're like, there's no problem with money, but it's a personal thing. So like, people will have different things going on because every house is unique.
I think ultimately you can't lose anyway, because if what you're talking about is having clearer lines, not having a junk corner where you're dumping stuff. I know one of the things I think I asked in your group was that I was concerned that under the stairs, we've got a cupboard. Most people do have an understairs cupboard, and it was a mess. You know, there was all sorts of stuff on the floor. The coats were all over the place, and it's the place where people my kids fling their shoes into. And in the group, they were like, yeah, but that's the center of your home. If that's placed in the center of your home, it's really important. It doesn't matter if you can close the door and not look at it. If it's a mess, then it potentially is going to have a big impact. And it definitely did, because when I took the time to clear out, not only did it feel really good, but also it just felt like the family were connecting a bit more, and that we were working together more as a team. And that I can't explain the energy shift, but there was definitely a massive energy shift. And that's got to come from me enjoying that and having that clear out and having that space. But also, as you say, this energy shift with the Feng Shui is just so powerful. So powerful.
And it's like, the nice thing for me is just that it's like the ripple effect, because most of the time it's like a woman who comes into my world and she's just like, oh, it's Feng Shui. And you know, we're always looking to improve things and make things better for ourselves, for our family. And then it's like, oh, actually, I could do my house. Like, I could actually, you know, and if it's going to help everybody. And that's where it's like, oftentimes there's more resistance on the side of like the husband or the partners to implement. But when everything is done, they get the pay rise, they get the promotion, they get the wins start to flow so easily for the guys or the partners. And we're like, what the hell? And they're like, what the hell? And I'm like, well, you're obviously just blocking at some other level, but it's coming in a different way. And it doesn't matter where the abundance comes from. Like, it's all good, and so when we're working with the house, it's that ripple effect that is so profound for me, is that it's not just, the person who implements that wins, and it's everybody.
Yeah, I love that. And so then on that basis, a lot of our audience have children because we are money savvy parents. So I'm just interested for our audience and for myself about educating children on Feng Shui, because, my children are very young, but I'm already thinking about the teenage years and what state they might leave their bedroom in. So what can we be doing with children to educate them on Feng Shui? What's the best way to approach it, and when as well?
I think that for me, the first one is like, be the change you want to see in the world. You having your room nicely organized and having everything, and being like, how good does it feel to be like this? And even like working with them of just like, let's let go of any of the things that are broken. Let's start to clear out. Let's like make space. So we're not getting a new toy until one goes out. Like, you do a clear out on a regular basis, and you start to move into that space, because oftentimes a lot of especially when it comes to clearing out and decluttering, there's a lot of emotional attachment to it. And letting go is a very, very powerful practice on every level. So if we can share and teach our children to start to let go of the physical things in our very young age, they're going to be way better at letting go of the argument that they had in the playground. They're going to be way better of forgiving. It's like this muscle that they have to build up of like, it's okay. And even realizing and recognizing that there's always more, that when they're in this place of, no, that's a very lack place, and it's like this sense of like, well, there's always more. If we let go of this, there's going to be welcoming more in, and we're making space for more dreams, more opportunities. And especially when it comes to working with kids, start to kind of even like creating a little vision board of like, what are the things that you'd like to see for yourself? And then every time we let go of something, you're like, I'm letting go of this, and I'm going to welcome in this. This is what I'm creating space for in my life, and it doesn't necessarily need to be other things. It could be like a higher grade in school, or, and then even like subtle things around, the colors. Like, children's bedrooms are often like really brightly colored and loads of stuff. And it's just like, how can you be of service to them? And how you can be of service to them is to be like, to not give them as much stuff, like to clear out or to separate it out a little bit more. And make their rooms, because the thing is, what's most important for them is sleep, like calm night's sleep, feeling good, getting good grades, like being able to concentrate and focus. So that's where you want to kind of mute down loads of the primary colors, make their bedrooms be like a relaxing space. So, we can be like, oh, we're going to paint it orange or whatever. But like, what can you bring in that's going to make it feel calmer, feel quieter, feel like a sanctuary for them, that they create their own beautiful little safe space, because they need their little sanctuary. And even we have a little puppy. He goes underneath the couch because he wants this little place of his own. So it's like, how can you then, but then it's that whole replicate of like, if you're not good at decluttering, if you're not good at letting go of stuff, if you're not like, they're not going to do it, so it has to be start with you and keeping your space organized, and then kind of share the rewards of it. Like, if it's like for me, I'm not a naturally tidy person, like, at all. But when I decided that I wanted to call in love, and this is obviously not for children, but it's the same.
Oh, I love this story.
It's like, I decided to set my apartment up for love, and I set up my bedroom, and I was really untidy, and I just went, no, I'm going to like make this space look so good, so that if anyone comes by, if anybody comes by, my room is set up and ready for love, but it also feels good. And it was like this massive shift in me. Like, it was so huge of like not having stuff on the floor, and I had like spare hangers. So, if we're like, okay, you want to get some new jersey for soccer, or you want to get a new dress, well, let's put a hanger up there for that. Like, let's make space for that thing. So what dress are you going to get rid of to call in the new thing? And then it just changes the energy and allows them come into a more of a flow.
I love that. And I love your story of calling in love, because it worked, didn't it? I mean, how quick was that? Remind me.
It was within a few months. I'd met Ken, and then when I got to his house, he had also feng shuied his house. So we both were like amazing.
You'd already done it before he met you.
Ken had been into Feng Shui in his 20s when he was going through his own personal journey and realizing, well, if my external environment is a mess, no wonder my internal is. It's like a mirror. So if I start tidying up and sorting out my external environment, it's going to help me internally. And then he had set up loads of different things around the house for love. And yeah, it worked. And then we both trained together. Yeah.
How lovely. So for our children then, if we focus on their bedrooms, is that because that's their place and it's the place they are going to spend the most time, I guess, in the house?
Yeah,
and that's why that room. But there are different corners of the house for children and relationships, aren't there? Is that right?
They're all different ones. But what for children, like for family, in children's bedrooms, I would definitely recommend having like a family photo in the bedrooms to really like anchor in and remind people like that unit that they have support, they have the family, and they're like reminded of that. And then even just like, I really like the idea of like, and the thing is like family photos can go anywhere, like apart from your own bedroom. So I don't recommend them in the parents' bedroom, but I recommend them anywhere else. You can have them anywhere else. In the children's bedroom, it's okay to have family photos, but not in the parents' bedroom.
Why is that?
Because your bedroom is for you and your husband and your partner, not for anybody else. And, you know, do you want your kids watching you while you're in bed?
No.
Go.
Oh, goodness me. I love that. You just got a whole different turn on things. I really love it. And I'm just thinking now, like, is there anything to stop us from talking to our children about Feng Shui as well?
No, not at all. I think that, to be honest, like the name can be a little bit like weird for them, but I'm more about like, you know, and especially say, for example, when I'm working with families and like the teenagers can be more resistant. And then you kind of work with what their goals are. So we're like, oh, so you want more pocket money? Okay, so we're going to do this and it's going to help get more pocket money, you know? And it's like kind of that balance. You know, we had a lady whose daughter wanted to go traveling to America one summer and to get a job and everything. And her bedroom happened to be where it was travel area. And I was just like, okay, so then we were like, oh, well, you know, you just have to say to her, so you want to get all this stuff? Like, don't you want to make it go smoothly? Don't want to, you know, so you have to kind of go to what their main desires are, focus on their values and their desires. And they're like, okay, great. Like, cause we have Michelle, who's just so mad. Michelle like shared her story that like when she started doing the Feng Shui in her house, her son was just like, yeah, whatever. Like he's in university, like in States, whatever. And then he won $67,000 and he came back and he's like, okay, mom, whatever. And now he's moved out and he's like ringing her going like, so what do you think? What do I have to do? Like, what do I have to do? And she's just like, oh my God, they're all completely converted now. And she's had like a huge financial wins personally for her as well. So it's just this amazing journey of just like, once you're doing your own work and you're showing up, doing what you want to do for yourself, like what you're meant to be doing in the world, then the house starts to go, oh, this is what you want. Here you go.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, I've only really just scratched the surface of this, but with me sorting out my wealth corners and bringing in that abundance, I have already had, I think, 4 different separate elements of unexpected money that I just could never have even envisaged that it would happen. And some have been like a direct, here's a check, but then others have been like, I've been expecting to pay for something and someone else has picked up the bill. Like, for example, I'll give you the example, my fences need fixing. I had some gardeners in already doing the garden. So I said, look, the fences need sorting. They don't look great. I already had you in mind thinking they don't look great. They need sorting. So I'd accepted I was going to pay for them. I hadn't looked at whose boundaries, whatever. Next thing I know, text message from my neighbour. I've looked at the boundaries, it's ours, so we'll actually pick up the bill. And it was like, sorry, what? But, you know, it's one of those things where you can't even expect to, that it just pops up out of nowhere. It's not like, you know, sometimes people can be a bit facetious, can't they? And say, oh, yeah, well, you know, you would be expecting that money in. These 4 different elements are things that I could never have envisaged that I'd be getting that wealth.
I love. And this is the best nowhere. They're just like, what? Out of nowhere. And actually something like fixing a fence or something like a boundary is really good for your finances as well. Like making sure everything is like well contained and there's no leaks. So that's definitely going to make a big difference as well.
Interesting.
externally. Yeah. So it's like anything that's not working, anything that doesn't look or feel good or has like gaps or is broken is going to be creating a leak.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I think everything you've talked about today, I can directly link back to what I do with my clients around those habits and sort of changing it for the future and viewing things with a fresh pair of eyes, and the leaks as well. There's just so many direct correlations. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Patricia, you've given so much information today and so much food for thought. But if people want to work with you, what's the best way for them to work with you? Where's the best place to start?
Yeah, so you can come to patricialohan.com, and at patricialohan.com I have some amazing free guides. So I have one on money, one for your top 21 things to do in your house. I also have a guide for Feng Shui in your office. So you can grab any of those there. I also release a video on YouTube every single week, so that's also on my website. And my podcast is Live Your Dreams Awake. So it's easy to come and join me there. And I would love to have you come there. And then you'll see the different options. My signature program is called Powerhouse, How to Turn Your House into a Powerhouse. And that we create a bespoke personal report for you that really activates all of the different 9 areas and makes sure that your house is good for money. And that's where the real magic happens there.
Excellent. That just sounds so good. It's just, I find it so interesting because I've just scratched the surface and I'm already seeing the benefits. So it's just spurring me on to do more and more. So I think what I need to do, and correct me if I'm wrong, is I'm going to go through the 9 elements and think about what my priority is and what my focuses are, because I did the wealth corner thing, but I really want to zone in on this now and make the most of it. Now I've started to see the benefits.
Yeah, so, brilliant.
Thank you so much for everything that you've shared. It's been so awesome. Thank you to everybody that's listened in. I hope you've enjoyed it. It does follow on nicely to an episode that's going to be released around this same time called Unexpected Wealth. So there's a podcast episode that I've done about what you can do when you expect these unexpected wealth. So please tune in and listen to that. I hope you all have a fabulous day and come back and listen to us another time. Have a great day. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Money Savvy Parents. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please subscribe and post your money questions within a review for future episodes. If you want to learn more, then please join my Money Savvy Parents Facebook group or club on Clubhouse. Let's remove the taboo from money together.